everybody. My name is Tapan Trivedi. What we're going to talk about today is how to build the skill of location analysis. Real estate investors, as you know, not investing in your backyard is becoming pretty much a paramount thing. And that's a skill. Location analysis, how to analyze a location in 5 minutes. That's a skill that you need to develop. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm so excited about this.
Welcome to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owners Association, where real estate investors have found success since 1968. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group. This episode is sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB and Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com. Get ready for the Midwest Real Estate Investor Conference in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Join hundreds of real estate investors for networking, learning, and growth. Be sure to mark your calendars for April 24th and 25th of 2025. Hello and welcome to episode 484. For many investors, skyrocketing prices and low cash flow make investing in their own backyard nearly impossible. But what if you could pinpoint exactly where the best opportunities are without ever setting foot there? Tapan Trivedi has spent years analyzing data across 380 metro areas to help investors confidently buy in the most promising markets. His S.E.C.R.R.E.T.S method eliminates the guesswork, allowing investors to identify locations with strong cash flow, tenant demand, and repeatable deals. As a full-time real estate investor and data expert, Tapan is here to break down where the numbers say you should be investing and how to overcome the fear of remote investing with data-driven confidence. Tapan, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Our listeners are always curious, interested, like where else should I be looking to invest? Because like you say, it's not always possible to invest in your own backyard, because I know you're in Sacramento. I used to live in Los Angeles. You're cash flow negative if you buy anything in California. So when I first started investing, I had to look elsewhere to find good deals. So tell us, and that's kind of the general umbrella of what we're going to be talking about today, but tell us about yourself and your experience in finding other markets.
So, I started like right after the downturn in 2009-ish, right? And looking back upon it, hindsight 2020, it's like people are like, oh, you're such a successful investor. You quit your day job within 9 months and you're doing this. You're not doing software engineering anymore. You have your cash flow all coming from rental properties. If I had to boil it down to one factor as to why I succeeded, or a lot of us in those days, I don't know how long you've been doing this, but it seems like you've been in this for a while. And it was the deal availability in 2009. Like all we had to do to create a deal, cash flow, flip, whatever, was to go out on the MLS, make 5 offers, get all 5 offers accepted, and have figured out, okay, where am I going to get the money for this? Right? So there were deals that were so plentifully available. And not the case right now. It's not everywhere. And when you look, like there's about 180 metro areas out of 380 where buying locally doesn't make any sense. Like my metro area, like Sacramento or Los Angeles or 180 other metro areas, you can buy, if you have $100,000 saved, you can buy maybe one house that's gonna cash flow $200, $300 a month. Right? So that's like a gross ROI of 3.6%. You take the same 100K and go to one of the 70 metro areas that we identify through the system. You can buy 4 to 5 houses, each one of them that's going to give you somewhere in the vicinity of $450 all the way up to $1,000 net a month. Right? And it's like, so you're looking at like ridiculous 45% ROI. You just can't compete, right? So your money is going to go so much further, not locally, right? But we are so ingrained. Like 92% of all real estate investments happen within 1 hour driving distance of the primary investor's residence. So it's like, and it's but like 1/3 of the country. So that 180 metro areas that I talked about, that's roughly 108 million US population. That's about 1/3 of the country is facing the dry backyard phenomenon, right? So location analysis for us real estate investors has become a necessary skill, like how to evaluate a location, whether you live locally or not, like whether you're investing locally. There might be a few locations that you have never considered that are awesome now, right? So we just need to build that muscle.
So, Tapan, you have a method called the S.E.C.R.R.E.T.S method, and it's kind of an acronym. So, will you take us through what that stands for and how that helps you evaluate these different markets?
When we went into collecting all the data that we thought we needed, we figured out that there's a lot of data that is relevant and there's a lot of data that is not relevant. So I'm going to talk about 2 things that people think are relevant, but they're not. And then I'm going to go into the S.E.C.R.R.E.T.S method, if that's okay with you. So first of all, you have heard things like schools are important, right? Go where good schools are or not good schools are. But the data just doesn't correlate, right? Because which schools should we consider? Like you will see school scores all over the place in the same neighborhood, right? You will see high school is like an 8 out of 10, but then K through 6 is 2 out of 10. And you will see middle school is like 5 out of 10. So which school do you consider? There's no homogeneous school district or schools. So that data just doesn't come. The only time it correlates is if there's a very high income, a zip code, then that's where it correlates. But as we all know, the best rentals are not in the really top high neighborhoods. They are actually in the B, C, kind of mid-level neighborhoods, right? So the thing is, schools not relevant when it comes to rental investment at all. Right? That's the first thing. When you're living, absolutely, yes, put your own kids. But like when it comes to numbers, that doesn't make any sense. We just didn't find the data. So we have the data. We chose not to put it in there. That's the first thing. Second thing is zip codes. Zip codes are not something that you should ever look at while investing anywhere, because zip codes were not meant to ascertain how people behave and hence have nothing to do with real estate or real estate investment. Zip codes were meant for one reason, which is to make mail delivery efficient for our awesome mail personnel. And that's it. Right. So there is this one zip code in Cleveland, Ohio called 43206. And I have a little PNG graphic that I can send you away. But it's essentially 8 neighborhoods in a single zip code. And every metro area has a few zip codes like that, where there's widely different neighborhoods in a single zip code. Right. So this 8 separate neighborhoods, they have the values that property values, the median values go from 500 to 380 to 150, 105, 103, 103, and 203 and 280. So that's like very, very, very different. So all these gurus out there that are preaching, that are saying things like, okay, take the average of the zip code and get 65% value of that, and that's a deal, right? And it's like the average of the zip code would be somewhere around 265, 266-ish.
When you say average of the zip code, I'm not following you. What does that mean? Like the average income of the zip code, or average value of a property?
Property value. And if you get a deal, if you get a property in contract at 65% of the average value of the zip code, right? Then but that would mean that you would get the top dollar of very high crime neighborhoods, 4 different neighborhoods from that same zip code. Right? So zip codes have nothing to do. It's the neighborhood that is the most important thing. We already, as humans, we know how far we will go to do our secondary economic activities, right? Like how far we will go to drop our kids at school, how far we will go to do our groceries or go to restaurants and go to the park and stuff like that. And that's what defines a neighborhood. The metro area is defined as how far people will go to for the primary economic activity, which is a job or the business, right? People will go much farther for that than their secondary economic activities.
So in your method, school system doesn't matter, or schools don't matter, and zip code doesn't matter. What else does not matter?
That's basically things that there's so many things that don't matter, but these are the two big ones that people are focusing on and they shouldn't. That's the first thing. And then what does matter is the secrets. And that goes down to size, economic diversity, crime, which those are the three things that are the fundamental safety metrics, data points, right? Size, economic diversity, and crime. Then it's residents who lives there, the tenant pool, right? That's very important. Then the real estate, what other kind of real estate exists there? And then is the equity and the cash flow, which is kind of what we want out of the properties. It's either the equity or the cash flow or both, right? And then it's the team building, which is you need to find decent professionals, investment-friendly professionals easily locally. And then last is the swings and trends. It's which way the market is swinging and which way the market is trending. So oftentimes we focus on that last thing first. Like how many times people have seen things like, oh, where the rents are increasing the most or the property values are dropping the most. But it's like, that's literally the last metric that you should look at. Look at the fundamentals first, right? How big is the metro area and the neighborhood? Are you going to be able to create a decent rental there?
Tapan, can you take us through the secrets and use actual real examples of cities that kind of where their metrics fall into those parameters that you like to see?
Viewers want to see the easiest way. I have, of course, created a tool for them called, and it's a free tool. No, it doesn't cost anything. It's a quiz. It's a 16-question quiz, and it's at quiz.wheretoinvest.io/cashflow city. So if you're doing headings out there or thing, then tell that if it's then quiz.wheretoinvest.io/cashflow.
And we'll make sure that's in the show notes too.
Yeah. But right now, St. Louis and Chicago, there are like about 30 neighborhoods that are doing exceedingly well, where the gross rent multiplier is really low and they're really safe neighborhoods with great tenant pool. So size is you want to make sure that the metro area is big enough so that you get all the economies of scale and you are getting this subset of properties that you can actually afford.
And size wise, from the beginning, I learned you want to have a metro area that's got a population over 100,000. I don't know what your metric is, but I'd love to know. How much?
So there's the primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, and quinary, right? So there's a 5. So 4 million plus is primary. So that's your Chicago's, Los Angeles, New York's, all those ones, right? Then the secondary is 2 million to 4 million. That's the 3 big ones of Ohio, the Cleveland, Cincinnati's, Columbus's, right? Then it's the tertiary, which is 1 million to 2 million. That's where the meat of the, and I believe Grand Rapids perhaps falls in one of those. And then there's the quaternary, this is 200 to 1 million. And then it's 100,000 to 200,000. And that's really low. And we suggest that if you're going remotely, go at least quaternary or more, 200,000 or more. Right? Like I had a pretty bad experience because of that in one of the towns in Texas, which shall remain nameless. But like it was a town of like 45,000 people, and I bought like a 12-plex out there, and I got red notice day 3 after acquisition. So they were just kind of waiting for me to acquire the property.
You say red notice, like
red notice. The way they red tagged me, like this needs to be fixed right away, and it was the sign for the apartment complex. Was not bright enough. So I'm like, okay, fine, fixable. So sent them there, like, go fix it. They're like, okay, this requires a permit. I'm like, never heard of requiring permits to change a freaking light bulb. But sure.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Green Property Management. Not only do they manage everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area, they also manage my entire portfolio. So I can tell you from personal experience that their unique flat fee management style is worth a closer look. If you feel that your property isn't operating to its fullest potential, then Green Property Management can help you take a holistic approach that will save you money, eliminate your headaches, and increase your net income. And if you're a property manager interested in applying Green Property Management's model, give them a call at 1-866-95-GREEN or visit them on the web at greenpropertymgt.com. If you're thinking of leaving your W-2 job and becoming a full-time real estate investor, one of the greatest costs you must consider is healthcare for you and your family. When I made this transition myself, I found the whole healthcare insurance process to be confusing and frustrating. That's why I'm glad I met Chad Creasy at RCB and Associates. Chad is a professional health insurance agent who helps real estate investors and small business owners understand and choose their best healthcare options. And best of all, his services are covered by the insurance company and won't cost you a dime. If you live in Michigan and are expecting a change in your healthcare insurance coverage for any reason, or losing employer coverage or transitioning into Medicare, then you owe it to yourself to contact Chad Creasy at rcbassociatesllc.com. Save the date for the Midwest Real Estate Investor Conference happening April 24th and 25th of 2025 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. This event is the perfect place to connect with fellow real estate investors, gain valuable insights, and elevate your real estate game. With a lineup of expert speakers and numerous networking opportunities, you won't want to miss it. Smaller communities have more weird rules that can bite you.
They tried to charge me $6,000 for the permit change to make the sign. So I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. And that's when I realized firsthand that, okay, if you're purchasing properties in smaller towns and stuff, you are always going to have a target on your back because, oh, he's rich, he can afford it. And I'm like, yeah, no, please don't. Like, so things like that, right? So economic diversity is that's the second one is economic diversity is no one-horse towns, right? There's got to be at least no single industry should employ in the metro area should employ more than 20 to 25% of the people, right? So the two exceptions to the economic diversity are healthcare, which has almost never gone down. There's shortages and in specific professions, nurses or what, but healthcare as total has never gone down, and education. So if college towns and like 35% of the people are employed by the university, that's okay too. Those are the only two professions that are exceptions. Those are the only two, industries that are the exceptions. But everything else, if there's a single industry, then like you probably heard of North Dakota shale oil fields like 6 years back. You probably got people emailing you saying, oh, we have this investment opportunity. And it's just basically they were putting 6-10 trailers and a fence around it and a few porta potties and solar. And Roughnecks will pay freaking $2,000 a month for that trailer. And you add cold beer and they'll pay $500 more. That was the business model. But the moment the shale oil disappeared, the whole towns, everything just kind of disappeared, right? And the second example that I use is love the US military, but they pride themselves upon like dismantling a base in 90 days if they have to. So if a military base is the only game in town, I would not invest there simply because they may make a decision to move right away, right? So things like that, like no one or stuff. So these are, and then the crime. Next one is crime. Crime is personal crime and property crime. So personal crime is murder, assault, rape, things like that. And then property crime is burglary, larceny, motor vehicle crime, things like that, right? So personal crime brings down both property values and rents. Property crimes generally bring down the rents, but not as much property value. Because theft is included in the primary property crime is theft, and high property value places somehow seem to have a lot more theft simply because people are stealing from them and they intend to report a lot more. So that's a phenomenon. So that's the crime. And there was no way to evaluate crime, so we had to invent ones. Like, so the two-way we put for each crime category, where does this neighborhood fall amongst all the neighborhoods in the country? And then where does this neighborhood fall within all the neighborhoods in the metro area? So what do the locals think about this neighborhood when it comes to this crime? And where does this fall all over the metro area? All over the USA. That's the crime. And then the residents, so the residents, you want to make sure that your tenant pool has people that would live in your property long term, right? And that they are economically sound enough, that they're making enough money to live in your property, right? To keep on paying rent. So let me give you an example. One of the metrics that we look at is family income versus individual income. And you have to match. If you're buying a studio apartment or one bedroom, then you look at individual income. But if you're looking at two bedrooms or more, you want to look at family income. And then you just got to do, okay, are there enough people in this neighborhood that can afford my rental on a consistent basis? Right. And then we look at other metrics to make sure that they are long-term renters, that if they have economic advancement, right, that if they're earning enough to purchase a house, that's also a problem, right? You want them earning just enough. And there's plenty of neighborhoods. It sounds pretty. So that's residence has a few other, how do they go to work? What kind of languages do they speak? That's the other one, because a lot of times what happens is you tend to go towards just one or two languages, but what it comes down to is your property manager. If there's like two or three different languages that are spoken in the neighborhood, your property manager should have somebody there that can at least answer the phone in there, because at the end of the day, your property exists to serve those people, right? So you got to know exactly who's living there and how much they are making so that you can serve them the best.
Well, one thing, Tapan, one thing I'll add about residents, because you brought up military bases. I've owned single family and townhomes near military bases, and they can always break their lease if they get shipped overseas or sent somewhere else. So that is something else to take into account. It's great to rent to our military, but just realize that their lease can be broken at any time.
Absolutely. And that's the seasonality. I guess that's not even a seasonality. That's just the eventuality that you have to be like, if all of a sudden there's a conflict someplace and we're sending the people out there, right? Then it's like, okay, I guess there's going to be an economic impact on my property because of that. And it's so true. Yeah, it's something that, and you know, where do you have it?
This was years ago. I owned some property in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So it was near the military bases there.
And so those are the things that you really need to know. And that's the thing. That's when the data gets a little bit fuzzy in those towns too, because a lot of times the US military is not very up on giving us the data. Like we only get as well data like New York, some neighborhoods, we just don't have the crime data. We just kind of say, sorry, we're not going to give you that, simply because New York, there's precincts that just don't share that data. They're like, nah, nobody's business but ours.
So residents, keep going with the secret. So we're up to the bar there.
Then it's the real estate. What other kinds of real estate exists there, right? So if you're into any kind of equity creation, forced appreciation space, right? So flipping or BRRRR or whatever, right? You want to know that the neighborhood has a bunch of older homes. That's what it comes down to. The production line of equity, forced appreciation is always the older homes. So we have a nice little graph that will show you how many older homes are there in the neighborhood. And you can see, and then we also tell you exactly how many single family homes are there, duplexes, triplexes, quads, multifamily, by the number in the neighborhood. So you can, okay, if you're buying a quad out there and your plan is to buy 5 quads and it'll get you out, get everything in the same neighborhood. You already know. You built a team there. Just go back there and start making offers on next one, and be done with it, right? So if you like a restaurant, go back there and eat it, right? So it's the same thing. So that's the thing. The other thing is with one click, it'll tell you, or a system will tell you exactly who owns all that neighborhood, all those real estate in the area. So your list building is right there. So we'll tell you who owns it, what's the address, all those things in the neighborhood. So the other thing is how many bedrooms. That's kind of necessary. Like if you're buying a studio and it's mainly a 3-bedroom apartment, a 3-bedroom place, and if almost everybody in the neighborhood is a family with children, your nice little studio is not going to rent. You're going to have a really hard time renting the thing out. Similarly, that's when you start putting data from various dashboards together and forming a picture if this is going to be valid or not, right? Like is this a good investment in this neighborhood or not? Because like I've had people that have bought like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and they think it's a great investment, but it's like a mainly singles neighborhood, and it's like it's a lot easier for them to go ahead and just rent it by the room than it is. But it's an additional problem, So things like that, like you gotta know really. So with real estate, the other thing is we will tell you how many people own their houses versus how many people are renting. So is it an investor-friendly neighborhood or not? And if you're buying that, if you're buying single families, you want to be in a predominantly homeowner neighborhood, because that's when you see everything else has pride of ownership. And if you keep your rental even a halfway decent, it's going to go really quickly because the neighborhood's going to bring your rental up.
Tapan, I want to make sure we get through the last 3 or 4 before we wrap it up here. The ETS at the end of secrets, what do those stand for?
The equity and cash flow there's a cash flow dashboard and the equity dashboard. The biggest data that we provide is in the equity is how quickly can you buy something that you can flip to different things. So we'll tell you that these are the properties, that there's these many properties that are available that you can buy at value and do something to it and flip it. That's the first thing. And then cash flow will tell you what's the median home, what's the median value, rent, all those things. And this is going to be the yield. You'll be able to tell, and then you'll be able to tell whether you're getting a deal or not. That's the thing. And then the last thing is swings and trends. So is the population going to go up, is going up or down? Incomes are going up or down or flat? Household formations up or down? And then, of course, the property values in the specific value that you are looking for. So what happens is a lot of times you get the data like, okay, if the median home value is going up or down in the zip code or the area, like what does that have to do with what I have to buy, right? So if you're buying something for 100K, you want to know exactly what's happening in that bracket, and we'll give you that exactly. And what's happening in the last 10 years in that bracket. So and the same thing for rents. So that's the swings and trends. And that's pretty much. So that's secret: size, economic diversity, crime, residence, real estate, equity and cash flow, team building. And team building is we have the professionals in every metro area that are investment friendly. So, when you are looking for a realtor, you start looking on realtor.com or Zillow or something, and you're going to get all these flowery realtors, as I call it. And we require a quite special beast to help us, right? Like we are like, tell me what the numbers are. I don't care how awesome the house looks and all those things. Just tell me, is it going to rent quickly or not? We are a different beast, right? Like the way I say is like there's investors and civilians.
So when you apply all those filters that you just mentioned, what are the top real estate markets that you're looking at? Because that's what our listeners want to know. I mean, given all of those factors, where should they be paying attention?
St. Louis is good right now. Chicago is good. St. Louis, anything west of downtown. In downtown, there's like a bunch of neighborhoods that are crime heavy, but you go beyond them and it's fine all the way. And there's a lot of rental rich heavy, very economically priced neighborhoods. Cincinnati is another one, slightly higher than St. Louis, but equally apt. Different distribution of neighborhoods. Columbus is another one. Cleveland has gone down. Cleveland is kind of getting dry, very dry. Yeah, so these three are the ones. Toledo used to be really good. Toledo, I've had people that have done really good, but it's dry now.
What about Grand Rapids, Michigan, where I'm from?
I haven't done, but I promise you this. How about this? I will do a nice little video on Grand Rapids, and I'll send it to you by the end of the day today, so that you can kind of look at. I'll choose one neighborhood of Grand Rapids and kind of evaluate. Unless you can send me an address, then I can actually evaluate the address and send it to you.
Okay. Well, yeah, let me think about what address I'd send you. And you can, if you do that, we'll figure out how to add it to the podcast here. How's that sound?
Absolutely.
So, Tapan, how would people find out more about you, learn more about your system? Where would you like them to go?
Absolutely. So if you want to know more about our system, go to wheretoinvest.io. It's not .com, it's .io, because .com's been taken by some big hedge fund a long time back. So wheretoinvest.io, and our basic subscription monthly plan starts at $49. It will give you 5 reports, but we have plans all the way. So it's like $10 a report, but we have plans that go all the way up to, the more you pay, the lower the price goes, and you can get it as low as like 45 cents a report, which is where it should be. Location analysis should not cost you more than $1 and 5 minutes of your time. I'm obsessed with making remote investments easy for real estate investors, and it should not cost you more than $1 per report and 5 minutes. Once you get the location analysis skills, like once you do 5-10 of these analysis, you're like, okay, I know what to do now. So that's what we show you.
Great. What's your favorite hack or app?
It's actually quite elemental. It's a productivity hack, but on Windows, you can create different desktops. What I do is Mac also allows you to do that. Mac also allows you to do that. And what happens is, when you're looking for a window open or files open and stuff, you gotta browse through 30 different, if you're looking for a particular Word document, you gotta browse through 10 different projects of open documents. So what I do is I have separate desktops open for every project, and different files open for just that desktop. So when I go to that desktop, I find things only for that project. So when I'm doing time blocking, I find everything open and ready just for that desktop and just for that product. And it's something that I discovered, I kid you not, middle of last December. So
Tapan, I want to thank you for being on the show. And we're about to actually add a little bonus here for our listeners and our viewers on YouTube, where you're going to take one of the properties that I'm a co-owner of in Grand Rapids, and we're going to kind of run it through your analysis to see how it turns out. So why don't you take it away?
All right.
For people who are familiar with Grand Rapids, this property is on Quimby Street. It's in the Creston neighborhood. I'm curious about it because it's a duplex that we bought probably 10 years ago. And there's been a lot of new development in the area, 2 brand new apartment buildings right down the street. This is very close to the Creston Brewery, although I don't know if it's still called the Creston Brewery. But great location, much older property, and just curious what your analysis is going to tell us here.
We just dropped it in and it found it. And so it drops you first in the size dashboard. So this is the secrets, economic. Each one is a clickable dashboard, right? So you just go, and this is where it is. It's a pretty heavily populated neighborhood, which is really good for us. 13,349 in a 2.78 square mile area, which is pretty good. Your metro area is tertiary, about 1 million people plus, which is great. So these two, I'm not worried about anything in terms of size. We're good. Fantastic. On to the next. Economic diversity, what kind of industries are there in the metro? So this changes with the dashboard. So you can get an idea of what's going on around here. And manufacturing is at 20.35% in the metro area and 20.15% in the neighborhood. I wouldn't worry about this at all. This is good. This green, go. And if you just kind of wanted to see what's going on in other areas and stuff, all those things. But prime. So this is what I call the zone of happy rentals. This is right here to right here. If it's more than that, this is a problem, right? But right here is just fine. So overall, so this is what it is locally. right? So it's slightly higher. Then this is S.E.C.R.R.E.T.S, this is Grand Rapids, this is your Crescent neighborhood, slightly higher. This is fine. This is fine. This is slightly higher. This is fine. I wouldn't worry too much about larceny being that much higher. But this would be an issue. Slightly higher crime. But total crime is also slightly higher. So related to, but this is pretty much a rental neighborhood looks like, right? You're not going to have all greens all throughout, right? That's the crime. But if you wanted to see what else is going on, where you just kind of hover, and these are the stay away from downtown, I guess. Southeast community, Eastbrook is high, Black Hills, John Ball Park, all those things. So you're probably familiar with all these things.
Yeah. And you're pulling these from the local crime statistics?
The crime stats are updated weekly. So yeah, it's as and when they provide, but it's not uniform all over. Some precincts they report differently, some precincts they report differently. But whatever it is, it's the soonest that anybody can get. So this is the residents who lives there. What is their education? So there's some residents that are making they're pretty well educated, and then there's some that are. So this is a 13,000 people, roughly 13,500 people neighborhood. That's the thing to think in mind, right? So this was a duplex that we're looking at?
Yes.
What is the
each unit is 2-bedroom, 1 bath.
2 months. Okay. So now we look at, so there's enough people. So these are long-term renters. They usually don't have that much high upward mobility. This is good. But population growth in the neighborhood is pretty much stagnant, which is not bad at all. This is good. But it's the metro area that we really want to look at. So you go into the metro area, it's been increasing in the next 5 years. Also, it's going to increase. So that's good. Go back. What is the married? 41%. A lot of decent amount of singles. But here's the thing. This is the living arrangement. Like 40% are non-families without children. So that's singles. But families without children, couples, this is your 2-1s are usually families with 1 children or families with no children, right? So families without children and some of this. So you will have roughly, I would say 5,000 people, give or take, that would be there will be good candidates for your duplex, which is great, no problem. Right? We're going to look at in family income. So what are the rents that you're charging there?
We get about $1,100 each unit a month.
So let's say 1,100 multiplied by 12. So that's 13.2. So do you have 3 times the rent criteria or 4 times the rent criteria?
3 times.
3 times. 3.
Meaning that their income needs to be
3 times.
1/3 of that. Yeah.
1/3 of that. Yeah. So 39.6, so it's roughly 40,000. So let's see how many people make 40,000 plus, right? So this graph, some of this graph, this is 35 to 50K. Some of this graph makes more than 40K, but everybody else makes more than 40K in family income. So most people, so I would say, unless you are renting it to just singles, if there's couples, there might be some opportunities to increase the rents. So they're making enough. A lot of people are making enough in your neighborhood. It's a pretty big neighborhood too. So there's not a single age slice that I have to worry about. If you go to Florida, there's places that 55 to 65 will be like 25%. So then you got to make sure that your property confirms to kind of helping them. But there's nothing out here that tells me that there's a specific age group for which you need to be concerned about. What are their occupations? This is all, once again, there's not a single occupation kind that dominates. This is a good slice. This is the one thing, 18% transportation mode. Most of them take cars to work. Most of them have 0 to 15%, 15 minutes travel time. But like 18% of people work from home from at least some of the time. If it's your 2-1, if there's a couple that both work from home, they tend to make higher. If you can kind of try to attract them, they generally pay higher rent. That's been my.
Tapan, I have another podcast coming up. So can you kind of just blast through the rest of the metrics here?
Certainly. So language is spoken. There's no Spanish, English, mostly white. So the white young professionals with really decent income, singles and non-families with a lower education. That's the people in your neighborhood that you're serving, right? What kind of real estate exists there in the neighborhood? It's mostly single family homes. You have a unique property there. So there's like just a few multifamily homes, condos, townhomes, just one, mostly single family. So you have a very unique property there. So if you just want to see who owns these ones, just click on that. And is that one of yours?
Yeah, so there's some.
No, this is
Yeah,
not
so
our
these are
address.
like
The twin is not in
multifamilies there. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But single family, if you want to look at the single family, then it pulls all the single family homes out here too. Who owns
Wow.
that?
Okay. Wow, that pulls it up pretty quickly.
Good, yeah. So the next thing is age of the houses in the neighborhood. So you were saying 15% of homes, new homes since 2010, but everything else is older. So a lot of equity building, single family homes opportunities here. Investor owned, homeowner owned. So there's a lot more. So this is slightly more investor favored neighborhood. Question is most of the people have mortgages on there, like 30% free and clear. So that, and these are the people that own it, right?
Okay.
Equity and cash flow, all kinds of things in there. But this is the one graph in here. So there's like about 6 to 8% of homes that you can buy full price and do something to it that you can sell in this sell box. And then 147 is the and the median monthly rent, this is median reported rent. So the gross yield is 7.12%, but I'm pretty sure you are getting a lot more than that.
Well, I bought it just after the Great Recession, so we got it for a pretty good price.
This is the team building. These are the realtors, property managers, hard money lenders, investment property lenders.
You can pull a lot of data from this here.
The swings and trends, the household income, number of households, population. So what's happening is that you can download this into a nice PDF, and I'll send you that. So this is, so if you wanted to see, okay, I want to see what's happening in the 90 to 100K range. I just click on that, and it highlighted that range. And there it is. So this is what's been happening in this value range, which is what I am interested in. If I'm buying a property at a certain, and this is, okay, there's 206 houses that sold in 2023 in this range. So that's, and similarly for rents, and rents have gone up significantly. So this, and people are using these reports to raise capital, and people are using these reports in their syndications to let their investors know what kind of location that they are taking their money.
Yeah, what's the due diligence here? Yeah, you answer a lot of questions about the property and the neighborhood. Is there a overall scale that says like thumbs up, thumbs down on the property or the?
It's individual, right? So that's the Find Neighborhood tool. This Find Neighborhood tool that we have, the second tool, is basically you tell it what kind of risk you are willing to take, right? And fill in the details, how much money you have, what kind of financing you're getting, what outcome you're wanted to, cash flows, equity, BRRRR, whatever that is. And then single family residence, duplex, quad, and then what state or metro area you put it, and you drop it in the Find Your Neighborhood. You click that, and it'll show you all the best neighborhoods. So let's say I have $50,000 to invest. I want banker broker. I just want cash flows, single family residence, and Michigan, and let's say Rapids, Kentwood, in your neighborhood. And it has certain crime things that I've already put it in there, but these are the neighborhoods that kind of the 40 neighborhoods. And then you can tinker around like, okay, I want yield, median value, or crime, or safety, or whatever that is, right? You can tinker around and find those 2 or 3 best neighborhoods. But this is where we have a metric called deal power. That this is the power. So you have just told the system what is a deal for you. But I have $50,000 and this and this and this and everything, right? And then it will tell you what is the deal power of this neighborhood to give you that deal.
Okay. Well, Tapan, I appreciate you showing this and sharing this with our audience. It's a nice little bonus here. Take you through the metrics that you're looking at and how investors can do the same thing.
And that this is how you do a few of them and you build your location analysis muscle, and then you become a fantastic remote real estate investor and prosper.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group, and you can find out more about me by going to higinvestor.com. That's higinvestor.com. And you can also ask questions and join us on Facebook by going to RPOA, Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast. And remember to save the date for the Midwest Real Estate Investor Conference on April 24th and 25th of 2025 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's going to be an event you won't want to miss, packed with invaluable sessions and opportunities to connect with like-minded investors. Keep listening for more updates, and we look forward to seeing you there. This episode was sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB & Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com.
You've been listening to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association. You can find out more at rpoaonline.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review.